routine bites high, and ambitions are low, and resentment rides high, but emotions won't grow, and we're changing our ways, taking different roads. Love will tear us apart again. Love will tear us apart again. Why is this bedroom so cold? You turn away on your side. Is my timing that flawed? Our respect runs so dry. Yet there's still this appeal that we've kept you alive. Love will tear us apart again. Love will tear us apart again. Fly out in your sleep, all my failings exposed. There's a taste in my mouth as desperation takes hold. Just that something so good, just can't function no more. Love will tear us apart again. 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 Check out Sonata Like Immersions or subscribe to be the first to see them every week. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What up, Twitch? What up, the once and future stellar wingman who is indeed first? What up, Cosmic? What up, Larry? What up, bots? What up, lurkers? What up, Stampy? What up, tiny people in my chatterino? It's your boy. It's snack time. It's snack time. The only snacky snack time. If you want to view paradise, simply look around. You will. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world. There's nothing to it. Uh-oh. Free bonus snack. There is no life I know that compares with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. What up, Michael? All right. Yes, I help you. You require more attention? Come down here so people can see you get pet. And turn this way so people don't have to look at your balloon net. I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Here they are standing in a row. Big ones, small ones, some as big as your head. Give 'em a pitch, a flick of the wrist, that's what the showman said. He said, now I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Every ball you throw will make me rich. There stands me wife, the idol of me life, singing, roll a bowl, a ball, a penny. Chunky boy, chunky boy, chunky boy, chunky boy, chunky boy. Okay. What up, Minnie? It's been a mini. Hope you're doing well, homie. Love a parade. Strike of the drum. I love a parade. All right, little paper from the face who hugs. Agentic reasoning and tool integration for LLMs via reinforcement learning. Hilarious. LLMs have achieved remarkable progress in complex reasoning tasks, yet they remain fundamentally limited by their reliance on static internal knowledge and text-only reasoning. Real-world problem solving often demands dynamic, multi-step reasoning, adaptive decision-making, and the ability to interact with external tools and environments. In this work, we introduce Artist. Agentic reasoning and tool integration in self-improving transformers. A unified framework that tightly couples agentic reasoning, reinforcement learning, and tool integration for LLMs. Artist enables models to autonomously decide when, how, and which tools to invoke within multi-turn reasoning chains, leveraging outcome-based reinforcement learning to learn robust strategies for tool use and environment interaction without requiring step-level supervision. Extensive experiments on mathematical reasoning and multi-turn function calling benchmarks show that artists consistently outperform state-of-the-art baselines with up to 22% absolute improvement over base models and strong gains on the most challenging tasks. Detailed studies and metric analyses reveal that agentic RL training leads to deeper reasoning, more effective tool use, and higher quality solutions. Our results establish agentic RL with tool integration as a powerful new frontier for robust, interpretable, and generalizable problem solving in LLM. So, bubble's going to burst any day now. Bubble's going to burst any day now. All right, now let me shift gears back to little energy related, because that's a concern that people have and it's valid. Pilot project seeks to fix Achilles heel of geothermal. Little one for Cosmic. A pilot project from a team of oil industry veterans could save one of California's key clean energy resources from terminal decline. And this is good on multiple fronts. Because if you're able to take people who are working in the oil industry and move them into a renewable industry like geothermal, and there's like relatively, it's similar, right? And I'm not saying it's the same, but it's similar. So they wouldn't have to learn a whole lot more. It's not like taking a coal miner and asking him to learn how to code, right? Like this is a different, it's a much more similar animal. Is it Soviet satellite going to burst that bubbles? I mean, allegedly it's something, Stellar Wingman. So yeah, this allows you to transition people from one industry to the other, leaving a softer off ramp, and also undermines the oil industry as a whole by giving a better option for people to take rather than continuing to work for an oil company. Now, there are probably money things and everything else related in there, but at least it's a step in the right direction. On Thursday, the Oklahoma City based Green Fire Energy announced it had restored new life to a defunct well in the Geysers, the world's largest geothermal power station, and one that has been in a state of slow, decades long collapse. By means of technology that taps heat from underground rather than the rapidly depleting water, the Greenfire team turned a well whose electric production had flatlined into a power producer. That offers a potential lifeline to the geysers, which currently generate 630 megawatts of on demand carbon free electricity in Northern California, down from 2,000 megawatts in 1987. You can see these gray wells, they've been abandoned. Rob Klenner, a former oil and gas engineer who is now Greenfire's chief executive, pointing to a diagram of the site where boreholes once funneled steam heated by plate tectonics beneath California up to spin turbines. There's still heat in this area, but it's kind of like a dry well. Like, hey, we got a little bit of oil, but not enough to make this economics. And then they shut everything in. The reason for the decline? The ferocious pace at which conventional forms of geothermal energy can use up water. Today, the geysers plan to use an average of 15 million gallons, 22 Olympic pools, per day. The complex's 18 power plants, spread across 45 miles, tap into the source in the form of the steam that spins their turbines. While this largely comes from treated municipal wastewater, it nonetheless represents a significant loss of water in a famously water stressed region and a significant break on the ability of so called hydrothermal fields to produce power. Greenfire's next gen system, which sits atop a well that had also been largely abandoned for lack of pressure, takes an approach that produces power without losing water. Rather than spinning a turbine with the physical force of superheated water, which is then lost to the atmosphere. So, again, not lost, right? But Greenfire's team circulates water in a closed loop to restore production. But that makes sense, right? Not just have it come up and go out and like that, but rather find a way to put it in a closed loop. Now, as the steam rises from the hot rock below, it hits the heat exchanger of a different kind of power plant called an organic Rankine cycle, or ORC. There's ORCs in California. A closed loop system full of a working fluid that boils at a much lower temperature than water. I do have concerns about a working fluid, right? But as long as there's no leaks in the system, then it is what it is. But still concerns because leaks tend to show up in systems. As the working fluid moves through the pipes of the ORC, it spins a turbine and generates power before releasing its heat into a condenser and falling, exhausted, like we all do, back into the pump to start again. Inside the well, something similar is happening. The rising steam dumps its heat into the ORC and then gets re-injected into the new underground closed loop. It cools back down, and then we would re-inject it. So now there's no water coming to the surface anymore. You compare this system to injection wells that coax new oil out of failing oil wells, with the difference that ideally nothing leaves the ground. As the buzz in geothermal energy increases focus on enhanced forms of the technology that use techniques like fracking to create artificial underground cavern networks, Klenner hopes that techniques like this one offer a low-hanging fruit to revitalize existing resources. If we can do this in existing wells and we could simply just double production, there's a large opportunity. So, good stuff. Good stuff. With the appropriate caveats that were already mentioned, good stuff. Shifting gears again. Related to AI, but you want a better example of the stock market is just vibes. I have it for you here. This is from 2 days ago. Alphabet shares sink 7% after Apple's Q, Eddie Q, says AI will replace search engines. So Eddie said a thing. Alphabet and Apple shares sank Wednesday after Eddie Q, Apple's chief services chief, said he believes that AI search engines will eventually replace standard search engines such as Google, according to Bloomberg. Q has said he expects to add artificial intelligence services from OpenAI, Perplexity, and Anthropic as search options in Apple's Safari browser in the future. The Apple executive was testifying in a federal court in Washington as part of the Justice Department's lawsuit against Alphabet. Last year, a U.S. District Court judge ruled that Google has illegally held a monopoly in the online search market, and now the judge is looking to determine what penalties or action should be taken against the search company. One major focus on the case is Google's practice of paying platform providers, such as Apple, to become the default search engine on their platform. The lawsuit and any potential remedies threaten Google's lucrative advertising business, and Alphabet shares sank more than 7%. Yesterday, Google stock rises. It rejects Apple's claim AI is hurting search volume. Google's parent Alphabet was climbing early on Thursday after the search company denied artificial intelligence was eating into its market. It's a claim that leaves Google at odds with its partner Apple. And that's it. One dude said a thing, stock go down. Company that was said thing about denies thing, stock go up. It's magic. It's magic. Theoretically, you could do that. Michael, I understand you're joking, but if you were able to convert human waste to extract like methane and then use that methane in some way that didn't increase, the greenhouse gases released, you could theoretically do exactly that, right? So yeah, stock market is vibes, and they demonstrate it to you every single day. Everyone is cheating their way through college, says this headline, which is behind a paywall, and I wonder why that might be. Shungin Roy Lee stepped into Columbia University's campus this past fall, and by his own admission, proceeded to use generative artificial intelligence to cheat on nearly every assignment. Did he say cheat? Probably, right? Probably. I mean, they wouldn't get hyperbolic in the first sentence in an article, would they? As a computer science major, he depended on AI for his introductory programming classes. I just dumped the prompt into ChatGPT and hand in whatever it spat out. By his rough math, AI wrote 80% of every essay he turned in. At the end, I'd put on the finishing touches. I just insert 20% of my humanity, my voice into it. Lee was born in South Korea and grew up outside Atlanta, where his parents run a college prep consulting business. No, not Columbia. The New York magazine. He said he was admitted to Harvard early in his senior year of high school, but the university rescinded its offer after he was suspended for sneaking out during an overnight field trip before graduation. Hey, whatever the rules are, I guess you got to follow them. A year later, he applied to 26 schools. He didn't get into any of them. So he spent the next year at a community college before transferring to Columbia. His personal essay, which turned his winding road to higher education into a parable for his ambition to build companies, was written with the help from ChatGPT. When he started at Columbia as a sophomore this past September, he didn't worry much about academics or his GPA. Most assignments in college are not relevant, he told me. They're hackable by AI, and I just had no interest in doing them. Uh, while other new students fretted over the university's rigorous core curriculum, described by the school as intellectually expansive and personally transformative, Lee used AI to breeze through with minimal effort. While when I asked him why he had gone through so much trouble to get to an Ivy League school, Ivy League university, only to offload all of your learning to a robot, he said, it's the best place to meet your co founder and your wife. Because in the current meta, or better or worse, mostly for worse, but in the current meta, it's all about who you know. Now, you can hate the current meta, and I do, but even if it wasn't the current meta, it's still about who you know. Would like to point out that yesterday I said that I will be getting I will be changing the stream in response to the fact that I'm getting a job, right? I'm becoming gainfully employed again. And the reason I have access to that job is because of who I know. It's also because people know me as if I work with you or for you, then they understand that I have a certain level of commitment and dedication to the process, and I am not going to make you look bad. I am going to make you look good. I am going to be that person where you know, we hired that guy, he did a great job, so you look good because you recommended that guy. It's always about who you know. We only call it nepotism when we don't like who they got. But we do nepotism all the time. All of us. Every one of us. Right? If you got a job, I mean, I don't want to put any of you on the spot. Have you gotten a job through someone that you know? Whether it's a friend or an associate or somebody that you worked with previously somewhere else or a family member, what have you. So it sounds like this person has a your problem. Education, like many pursuits, is what you make of it. If you use the methods to shortcut the learning process, that's on you. Yes. Yes. Also, yes, and, right? My daughter did meet her spouse at university. It's common, right? I would say it's a common thing. My last two jobs were gotten because someone I knew worked there. The the heroes of these kind of people, right? And I'm extrapolating a bunch off this dude, but I feel confident and uh in my assumptions. Um your Bill Gates, your Mark Zuckerberg, you know, other other people of that ilk. They drop out of college, right? They go to college for a little amount of time, make some relationships, figure out a thing, and then drop out of college to spin that off into the world. Fucking Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel has a fund specifically set up for people to drop the fuck out of college and, go do a business. Now again, is that like good? We don't know what the world would have looked like without Windows. You know what I mean? We don't know what the world would have looked like without Facebook. There's a lot of negatives about Facebook. There's a lot of negatives about Windows. But they were both transformative, and there's a lot of good that came from those things. There's a lot of associations and relationships that sprung up because of things like Facebook and social media. People were able to connect with people from around the world. This, according to people outside of Twitch, Twitch is a form of social media. And I know that I have made a bunch of relationships with people in the few years that I have been on Twitch. And the vast majority of them affected me in a positive way, right? Couple of negatives, but that's going to happen, right? That's just probability. But generally speaking, I appreciate everyone who I've had a chance to meet and work with and, associate with in various chats. So not just streamers, but chatters as well. Um, and some of you have gone like above and beyond what would, you, you can't tell me that you can't make friends online because some of y'all have really done friend shit, right? You never helped me move a couch, but y'all have come through in a variety of different ways, and I appreciate every one of you. HTML was transformative, sure. I don't know what the origin story of HTML is, though, and if it's relevant to what we're talking about. So, anyways, by the end of his first semester, Lee checked off one of those boxes. He met a co founder, Neil Shanmugam, a junior in the School of Engineering, and together they developed a series of potential startups, a dating app just for Columbia students, a sales tool for liquor distributors, and a note taking app. Now, a dating app for Columbia students. Do we need that? Who the fuck knows? We don't exist in the world in which it didn't, attempt to take off. Apparently, none of them took off, is the next sentence says. But the note, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Cosmic is this kind of relationship to something like Facebook. Facebook, though, I mean, to be fair, Facebook was hot or not for Harvard or wherever the hell he went to school. But a note taking app, right? One might say that we already have note taking apps. We don't need other note taking apps. But do you prefer Notion? Do you prefer Obsidian? Do you prefer Google Keep? Do you prefer some other note taking app that I haven't mentioned? Is the interplay between these different apps an increase to the capabilities of any particular app? I would say yes, right? I tend to be a fan of competition. Like good competition leads to better outcomes. Other people don't feel that way, but I don't give a fuck. Then Lee had an idea. As a coder, he had spent some 600 miserable hours on LeetCode, a training platform that prepares coders to answer the algorithmic riddles tech companies as job and internship candidates during interviews. Some of you, excuse me, I would say are familiar with LeetCode, and I believe that LeetCode benchmarks have come up around a couple of the models. Lee, like many young developers, found the riddles tedious and mostly irrelevant to the work coders might actually do on the job. One of the arguments made against these benchmarks is that they use things like LeetCode, and while they are, I don't know if I would say that they're irrelevant, they again, tying it back to the idea of doing a job, there's what you learn in the classroom and there's what you learn in the field, right? Um, if you're doing if you're let's say you went to school for drywall, trying to tie it to something that like, I understand. Electrical is the same kind of thing, but in the classroom, your walls are probably going to be, nice and square and plumb and straight. And so when you're putting on the drywall, you're doing it under, ideal conditions, right? You're mudding the drywall, everything, the sticks are good, everything's good. When you actually get out into the field, you find out that the framers who put the sticks in on this wall didn't give a shit because they were getting paid by the job and they want to get in and out as quickly as possible. And a couple of these fucking boards that they put in look like bananas, right? So now your wall, instead of being straight, you know, has a bow in it on the vertical plane or on the horizontal plane and a bow in it on the vertical plane. How do you compensate for that? What do you do? You can only learn that by running into these weird ass things out in the field, right? Same with electrical, especially if you're doing like renovation work, like you don't know what's going on inside these fucking walls. And then it's when you start to take apart the electrical system in order to add in some new thing that you realize that they never covered this in class. And you need someone with experience to tell you what's up, or you need to figure it out on your own. I would assume that the same applies to coding. There's the code stuff that you learn in the class, which is valuable and important and provides you a base knowledge. But it is different from when you get out into the field and you're sitting there and you're attempting to, work with a database that has just layers and layers of technical debt built into it because every person was on that pay by the job mindset where they're just trying to, the boss doesn't want you to fix the underlying condition. The boss wants the database back up. You got 10 minutes, go, right? Like that kind of thinking. I need to bust this out, and then you get something and it works and you're done, right? You need to move on to the next job because the bosses often don't give a shit about your particular, you know, database. They just need the money coming in because their bosses are yelling at them that the money from this client is not coming in because the database for their fucking client isn't working properly, and your boss is getting shit on from their boss, and their boss is taking a call from the client because those guys used to fucking play badminton or something at the college they used to go to, and that's why he's even with the company. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm with you, Minnie. Right? I'm not. I'm not saying that this is the ideal way to work the universe. I'm saying that this is the way that the universe can work. Right? Because you're not wrong. Right? You do a thing. You figure out some workaround in an electrical system, and okay, now we have power to this room, and everything should be proper and up to code and everything else, and some jackass in 1974 tied this box that's actually buried in a wall to the outlets that are in the garage so that they could have garage outlets. And then when somebody plugs something in the garage and turns on that air compressor or whatever, now all the lights in the living room went out, and then you have to figure out what the fuck is going on here. So I'm with you, Minnie. Like, I understand the thing. But yes, the problem is companies fix and forget. What was the point? What if they built a program that hid AI from browsers during remote job interviews so that interviewees could cheat their way through instead? Here's the thing about that. Some people are really good at work. Some people are really talented and don't interview well. Sometimes it's because people don't know how to conduct an interview, and sometimes it's because people don't interview well, right? Are you nervous? Are you not good in social situations? Any of that kind of stuff. Then there's people who are the exact opposite. If I get to the point where I'm at an interview, I'm probably going to get the job just because I am personable and I can make that person laugh. They're going to have a good time, right? And that's what matters. As long as you kind of know what you're doing. Like I talked about when I got the job working. What up, Square? When I got the job working landscaping, right? And I'm doing the interview, and he goes, "So what do you know about trees?" And I'm like, "Brown side down, green side up." He's like, "What do you know how to, work a shovel?" I said, the pointed end goes in the ground." It's like, "You're better than most. You're hired." It's like, we're doing AI literally right now, Cosmic. If you can't see what we're doing, then that's on you, baby. What up, Iggy? I can bullshit my way through an interview. If I can get to the interview, I can get the job. Now, am I cheating? Is that cheating? In February, Lee and Shanmugam launched a tool that did just that. Interview Coder's website featured a banner that read "Fuck Leet Code." Lee posted a video of himself on YouTube using it to cheat his way through an internship interview with Amazon. He actually got the internship but turned it down. A month later, Lee was called into Columbia's academic integrity office. The school put him on disciplinary probation after a committee found him guilty of advertising a link to a cheating tool and providing students with the knowledge to access this tool and use it how they see fit. And for me, this is TOS, right? This is TOS. You might, you can agree or disagree with this thing, but when I came on Twitch, I agreed to a terms of service. And if I violate that terms of service, then it doesn't matter whether I think it's right or wrong, or it's justified or whatever. You violated the rules. You got to go, right? You can't be in the club, and that kind of thing. Lee thought it absurd that Columbia, which had a partnership with ChatGPT's parent company OpenAI, would punish him for innovating with AI. Although Columbia's policy on AI is similar to that of many other universities, students are prohibited from using it unless their professor explicitly permits them to do so, either on a class by class or case by case basis. Lee said he doesn't know a single student at the school who isn't using AI to cheat. I'm doing the crime bunnies because they are not quoting Lee in any way that indicates that Lee thought they were cheating, right? So if they were quoting Lee, then I would not be using crime bunnies. But because they're using the term cheat, is it cheating? To be clear, Lee doesn't think it's a bad thing. I think we're years or months probably away from a world where nobody thinks using AI for homework is considered cheating, because that indicates to me what Lee's perception of the situation is. So I don't know that Lee would be using the term cheat when he's referring to the things that he's done. What up, Ghost? He was teaching students, but was not on the faculty. Yes, apparently. It's a twist in the story I didn't get. Which one? Sorry. Speaking of coding, I was able to use ChatGPT and Claude to install YTDip and FFmpeg Took me a few hours to figure out what I was doing wrong, but through that conversational format, I was able to drill down on the problem. I can now download videos from the command line. What? You mean your use of AI didn't cause you to cognitively offload a bunch of material and cause you to somehow be dumber at the end of the process? And in fact, you learned something in the process of using AI? What? Well, that's a good question, Stellar Wingman, isn't it? Is it cheating to ask the internet for help in finding resources? Not to me. It's an arbitrary point where you put the line, right? If you say this is cheating because, it's okay to use Google, it's not okay to use Gemini. That is a decision that you can make. Insert I love at Grok idiot JPEG. Grok is a whole nother animal. I don't want to talk about it. That OpenAI and Columbia had a partnership. This version of the story sounds a little different than the way I heard it earlier. Ah, okay. Yeah. Funny that, right? It's okay to use the dictionary, but not the encyclopedia. It's okay to, is it okay to use the dictionary or do you, or I'm sorry, is it okay to use dictionary.com or do I need to use the dictionary? Right? Because the dictionary.com does a lot of the heavy lifting for me in figuring out a word. Where in the dictionary, I have to find the word. Right? So if I'm using a dictionary and I'm spelling the word wrong, then I can't find it. If I use dictionary.com, there's enough fuzzy logic that exists within dictionary.com to put me, did you mean this fucking thing? Well, that's cheating. You didn't learn what the goddamn word was spelled, so you shouldn't have any knowledge that comes from that because you're cheating. You need to do the hard work. You do what I did. You go to dictionary.com, but cite the dictionary. Sure. What about a thesaurus? Spell abracadabra. Abracadabra. I'm gonna reach out and grab you. In January 23, just 2 months after OpenAI launched ChatGPT, survey of 1,000 college students found that nearly 90% of them had used the chatbot to help with homework assignments. In the first year of existence, ChatGPT almost total monthly visits steadily increased month over month until June, when schools let out for the summer. It wasn't an anomaly. Traffic dipped again over the summer of 2024. Yes, because college students on summer vacation are A, working, or B, hanging out with their friends. Professors and teaching assistants increasingly found themselves staring at essays filled with clunky robotic phrasing that, though grammatically flawless, so there's nothing wrong with it, didn't sound quite like a college student. It sounded too good, or even a human. I love this kind of thinking. AI is trained on all the human created content, but also AI sounds nothing like a human. Okay. All right, buddy. 2.5 years later, students at large state schools, the Ivies, liberal arts schools in New England, universities abroad, professional schools, and community colleges are relying on AI to ease their way through every facet of their education. generative AI chatbots, ChatGPT, but also Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, Microsoft's Copilot, and others, take their notes during class, devise their study guides and practice tests, summarize novels and textbooks, and brainstorm, outline, and draft their essays. So, taking this piece by piece, taking the notes during class. As a person who was in class and had to take notes, and as an associate of a person who uses a tool called Fathom, the ability to participate in the lecture, in the conversation, in the class, while not having to physically take the notes myself, would be a tremendous advantage to my understanding what it is that we're doing, right? I can focus on asking any questions. I'm engaged. I'm in the moment. I'm here. The notes, the tool is taking down all of the information. So when I'm later going, I wonder what was that fucking thing, right? And then I can type into the notes, what was that fucking thing? And the AI will go, oh, you mean this fucking thing? And it was like, yes. I don't understand what the fucking problem is with this. Devising a study guide and practice test. That sounds great. Not everyone learns the same way. The idea that we should conform all students to learn in the exact same way sounds flawed, let's say, or other words that start with F. And then you have practice tests, right? Where so you can make sure that you know the thing that you're trying to learn. Summarizing novels and textbooks. I can go multiple ways on this. On one hand, I'm a huge fan of reading books. I think people should read books. Huge fan of Dave Graeber, all his stuff, and having read his books gave me a lot of additional information. That of course is included in the in this book list, right? Like every one of these books within this list are books that I have read. If you count audiobooks as reading, and I do. But, or and, one of the two, being able to summarize a book where you just need a particular bit of information out of it rather than having the entire thing. And not every book is good. I'm sorry, right? This is a fantastic book. My favorite book. Not really, but like it's the book I talk about the most. But there's a few sections in here, it's like I feel like you were padding it for length. Like I got what you were trying to say in the first half of the paragraph or in the first half of the chapter, and you didn't really have to continue going on with examples. And that's often what I find is that people will, use a bunch of additional examples beyond what maybe is necessary. I agree with about 60% of what you said, maybe 45. Fair enough. Again, you don't have to agree with me. And, I'm more than happy to talk it out. Unlike some people, I'm not going to shout down chatters who disagree with me in my chat. That would be reductive. So yesterday's stream, what up, Crix? Yesterday's stream, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm specifically avoiding mentioning other streamers by name. Please and thank you. If it just so happens that the thing that I'm talking about is in direct conflict with another person who also streams and what they talked about, well, then I'm just providing you with an alternative perspective. It's no drama every day, right? Because Larry, I never have drama. I never have drama. You know, if I don't like a streamer, then I just tend to avoid them. And um if I do like a streamer, then my conflict is with their arguments. It's not with them as a person, and that's it. Those are my two settings on that. Well, thank you, Crix. So here's the concern: a lot of frat bros will and have used this to do the work for them while they go be meatheads. Yes, but that has nothing to do with AI, right? They used to pay the smart kids to take their test for them. I mean, the premise for the TV show Suits is exactly that, right? That the main character, one of the main characters, used to take tests on behalf of the meatheads. Now, should that be happening? Probably not. Right? That's probably a thing we don't want, generally speaking. We would like the people to know what they're talking about. What up, Ribbons? Um, again, my issues are only with people's arguments. Um, so yeah, in my opinion, the AI is making people stupid and destroying critical thinking skills is reactionary rhetoric based on entirely false framing. It tends to be, in my opinion, as well. It's a lot of it is. I'm not going to finish this article. But if y'all want to take a look at it yourself, here it is. Um, yeah, no, it's strictly with arguments, right? I just feel like people are you know they're using false framing and stuff like that. Where was I? Because we're just gonna have a chat until it's James time. The AI is making people stupid and destroying critical thinking skills. I think we need, like my argument is that we need to do better with teaching, um, critical thinking skills as part of our educational process. Not that, something is eroding the critical thinking skills that you should just gain. I'm talking about actively teaching critical thinking skills, which we do not do, right? If you gain critical thinking skills, it's like it's a side bonus. It is not the intent of whatever class it is you're doing. And I think that that's an issue with the way that we do education. I mean, also the idea that, like, again, and I made this argument before that if you're talking about skills loss, right, that people are losing skills. Well, how many of you know how to dress a deer, right? Hey, I just met you. This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Thank you for the follow. How many of you know how to dress a deer? How many of you could trap a rabbit? How many of you could like construct what you call it, a hydroelectric dam on a sufficiently large enough stream to generate some amount of power? Because I can do all those things, right? I understand all the processes involved in all of those things, and I can do them. Are they valuable skills? Not really. Should I hold that onto those? Y'all can. I'm not saying that y'all can't do stuff. I'm sure that a bunch of y'all have a bunch of skills that I don't have, right? And those skills may or may not come up at any particular point in time. I have a variety of skills. They don't often come up anywhere. Fair, but this makes it even more prevalent. It disadvantages those kids without access. And yes, I agree, but that's, like all things, it's an issue of power structures and capitalism, right? That involves changing the system, and I'm totally all for changing the system. But in the meantime, I guess where this conversations need to go is okay, it's here. What do we do about it? How do we change the classroom? Agreed. Agreed. And that's I don't claim to have all the answers. I don't. I am human and limited and fallible, but I respect the fact that there's a variety of people that I can associate with who could provide me with different contexts in order to figure out how to do those things. The little thing called from each to each, right? From each according to their ability, to each according to their need. I think we should live by that. I can fight vigorously with a friend about a subject and then be over it as soon as we're done, then burn one with them. 100% with you. I got a friend who's exactly like that. Like, we have gotten heated over shit, but ultimately, you know, is critical thinking skills the same set as out of the box thinking? It's in the Venn diagram. Like out of the box thinking can relate to critical thinking, but I would say that they're basically separate skills. But also the whole community, yeah, and that has to do with, in my opinion, Ribbons. That has to do with parasociality. And I was talking with another person regarding, how communities can um become fairly parasocial, right, in that regard, and you have to be careful of that, which is why I try to be very careful of that when, like if I react in any like solidly negative way towards another person expressing a counter argument, I consider that a flaw within myself, something that I need to reflect on. And I might not do it in the moment, and I apologize to anyone, that I have popped off on in that way or made you feel like I was doing that, because that was not my intention. Right? My intention is always to hear out arguments and stuff like that. Cosmic, this is not an excuse to bring up Sabine Hassan Pfeffer again, because that's an entirely separate issue that we're going to have to agree to disagree. What up, Sean? Trying to run through real quick. Numeral Whistle, what up? Out of the box is more about creativity. Yeah, creative thinking, critical thinking, media literacy, and healthy skepticism. I think those four skills are interrelational with each other, but they are different. Iglobus is a thing, and the people made it happen. And in the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot. Always remember that Shoggy loves you, and so do I. And have fun over at James's house.